So when you guys think of the 90s, what exactly do you think of? Me personally, I think of good movies with practical effects where directors actually had to try to make a decent movie. Yeah, basically we're talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action movie. Let's get into it. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here on Ord's World. I am Ords, and today we are taking a look at an article from filmslash.com, how the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie created the modern superhero comedy. So I feel like Turtles was one of these movies that really kind of captured us, not only as kids, but as adults. A movie with practical effects, practical makeup, costumes, that felt real. And even if it didn't feel real, the story was enough to pull you in and you could still enjoy the movie. They found a good balance between comedy, action, and weirdness, which I thought was absolutely terrific. When I was a kid, this movie was mind-blowing to me. This was one of my favorite movies of all time. I think another thing people really loved about this movie was that it expanded upon the characters of the Ninja Turtles. They gave them a little more depth, a little more understanding as characters, maybe a little bit more relatable because of the live-action feature. But we got to learn more about, our brothers, our heroes in a half shell, in that live-action movie. And I think for a lot of people my age and a lot of people who are watching this video can relate that this movie was such a huge part of your childhood. And if it was, guys, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know, share a memory with me when you were a kid in this movie, or maybe your first time seeing this movie, maybe a time you remember watching with a family member. Whatever the case, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to have that. And now before we dive into the article, that's right, guys, here's the part where I have to plug the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure you hit that subscription button down below. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and you can help by hitting that button. Also hit the bell, all that good shit. You guys know what to do with it. Anyway, I'm really excited to get into this damn article, guys, so let's get into it. So as I stated in the video before, this article comes from slashfilm.com, how the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie created the modern superhero comedy. So like I said, this was something that really had everything, and I think a good movie has that. A little bit of comedy, a little bit of action, a little bit of romance, a little bit of, tension. In the movie, and this movie had all of that on top of being the Ninja Turtles, which was huge at the time. The animated series. In 1990, music video director Steve Barron cracked the code on combining superheroics and laughs with New Line Cinema's sleeper hit Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which went on to become and maintain its status through the 90s. So this was all through the 90s it maintained this status.
Totally toothless, dude.
As the highest grossing independent film of all time, taking in $200 million worldwide on a $13 million budget. So I bet you there are movies that are happening right now that wish they could hit the 200 million mark. And this was back in 1990. So made a lot of freaking money. Based on the comic book by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Now, it mentions here in the note that this was actually a joke. The Turtles actually were a joke. They were like a parody of Daredevil, and some claim, in this kind of fan mythos, that the Turtles and Daredevil were actually created at the same time with the same ooze. Look it up. Maybe I'll leave a link down in the description or something to the video that explains it. But it's very interesting stuff. This is something that fans have talked about for a long time. But a joke, something that was a joke, a parody of something, became hugely popular and really is still popular to this day.
I made a funny.
Even though IPs of recent have been trash. But I mean, we could say that about almost any franchise. The IP had evolved into a popular cartoon show, a toy line, and even an addictive Nintendo video game before it was brought to the screen to erroneous success. Like I said, there was all this stuff that happened. I collected the stuff when I was a kid. I remember getting it was a turtle dressed up as Santa Claus. It was like a stuffed animal. I don't know why I remember this. It was just a huge, I just had it around, you know what I mean? I had it around forever when I was a kid. It was my earliest Turtles thing that I got, so never forget that. Even the legendary critic Robert Ebert could barely put a dent in it, admitting it was probably the best possible Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. It is, to this date. It really bridged those gaps, and I think they talk about it in the article, but it bridged those gaps of that adult feel with the animated cartoon the cartoon series feel and the original comics, that dark, gritty feel from the original comics, but yet we had those elements of the cartoon, which really brought, the older group who read the comic book and then the younger group who watched the animated series, which I would say were kind of two different people, really. Because I was born in 86. I don't care. I was born in 86. So I was pretty young when the Turtles were first around. But then the animated series is what drew me in. So you had this older crowd who was into the Turtles from the comic books, and then you had this younger crowd, which probably contributed to the success of this movie, if I'm being honest with you. But I mean, you got Robert Ebert saying that this is probably the best Turtles movie, and I agree. So here the article goes into the explanation as to why this movie was so successful. And I agree with most of it. So, why was it so successful? Because in between jokes about pizza and turtle wax were legitimate moments of violence, struggle, and loss. Exactly. It had all of that. The comedy, the violence, the grittiness, the darkness of it, what we expected out of a Turtles movie. Barron didn't shoot it with the bright, flat Walmart lighting you often see in kids' movies, nor did he stage it with the slapstick silliness of Richard Lester's Superman films. The fighting elements are handled with aplomb, no doubt due partially to the film's Chinese production company, Golden Harvest, which had helped to popularize martial arts movies in America with Enter the Dragon. Well, if you've got that backing you up, I'd say that's pretty good. Rather than being hokey, the tragic flashbacks of Splinter's master dying play like outtakes of Shogun Assassin. The costume designs are animatronic by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. God rest his soul. Who doesn't love Jim Henson? Even when you didn't know he was making your childhood great, he was making your childhood great. This happened shortly before he died. As a note here in the article, stayed true to their nature from the comics and cartoon show, walking the line of pop without being too kiddish. Well, so here's the thing. I agree. It blurred those lines, right? That was a thing with the Muppets, and that was something that Jim was good at, and maybe Jim had a big hand in creating this whole atmosphere here in the movie, where you do kind of blur those lines. Like even in the Muppet Show, it does kind of blur those lines between adult and child. There was like the kid jokes that the kids could laugh at, right? The silly slapstick stuff. And the jokes, but then there was those, older jokes, those moments that adults could appreciate, which made it this beautiful family show a lot. And I know I talk about the Muppets a lot, but there are many amazing aspects to the original live-action Turtles. You can see the future stars Sam Rockwell and Skeet Ulrich standing next to each other in one shot. But the biggest may be how much it has influenced the tone of modern superhero flicks. A lot of it comes down to the film's look, which rather than the colorful palette of the cartoon show, carries the same gridmark hyper-stylized big city appearance. Possibly, in the note here, it says possibly inspired by Tim Burton's Batman. Another great superhero movie. I think that movie may have led to the creation of this movie, that it's actually possible to create a decent, dark, gritty superhero movie while still having intelligent dialogue and, appealing to the masses. All right, so the hyper-stylized big city appearance that we would see throughout the 90s in movies like Jacob's Ladder, The Crow, Seven, and The City of Lost Children. Again, to quote Ebert from his very funny 1990 review, the city looks like a grumpy backlot version of shabby film noir, and the sewers are like medieval dungeons. A few years later, 1993, Super Mario Bros. Tried to tap into the same dark visual well, and arguably went too far with its cyberpunk grime and repulsive puppetry. Here's the thing. You guys are probably going to roast me, and feel free to roast me in the comments. For what it was at the time, I liked the Mario movie. I think it was more of the cast that was involved in it. I liked John Leguizamo at the time, not so much these days. He's kind of a left-wing whack job at this point. All right, well, that's neither here nor there. So, like with the Superhero Brothers movie they're talking, I think a lot of movies came out and tried to recreate that magic that Turtles movie did, that live-action Turtles movie. And pretty much a lot of them failed. I mean, hell, even the Turtles movies that came after the first Turtles movie could not really reach what that first movie did. The second one, which I like, Secret of the Ooze, love that movie, but it's very more kid-friendly. And then you have the third one, which is just, completely, here's the second movie, and then way off in fucking left field is the other one. So
This pile of dog shit called Ninja Turtles 3 is the most god-awful disgrace in human existence.
by the time Ninja Turtles came to the theaters, other films had tried and failed to top it in the same kid-friendly comic book tone. Like I was just saying, a lot of films came out after the fact and tried to reach that status, play off of that popularity, but it just wasn't the same. I mean, I'll admit, like, the Super Mario movie is bad. I still enjoy it, but it's a fucking bad movie. Doesn't matter what anybody says, it's a fucking bad movie. But you can still enjoy a bad fucking movie, right? Namely, George Lucas's tone-deaf take on Marvel's Howard the Duck. I actually liked Howard the Duck, the movie. I mean, like, again, another bad movie I enjoy watching. I think a lot of the late 80s, early 90s were full of these really bad movies, but we still enjoyed them. We had, the special effects were new back then, right? So it was something we had never seen before. So even though they're bad movies, they were still fun to watch at the time. Canon Films' hopelessly shellacky Masters of the Universe, the biggest sin both of those efforts committed was deviating too much from the source material, something Ninja Turtles took to heart by maintaining the look and feel of the characters and their New York setting. Casey Jones looked like Casey Jones, and with his trademark hockey mask, Splinter looked like Splinter. That was a big thing with the movie. These characters actually looked like what they were supposed to. And then you had Jim Henson, leading the animatronics, the puppetry side of things. You couldn't ask for a better combination. This was just something in history where these minds just so happen to coalesce at the same time to create something that's very interesting and that really holds up from this day on. I mean, I've watched the movie with my kids and they love the movie. So this movie really does hold up. And if you know the Ninja Turtles and never see this movie, I go out and fucking see this movie. What are you waiting for? Well, their subway layer looked like a real sewer, not something sanitized for children. This fidelity to the material proved to be much harder than Baron made it look. Even though the follow-ups in New Line's original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy went too far over to camp with 1991's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, and its embarrassing Vanilla Ice cameo. I honestly didn't mind it, but, like I said, I like bad movies anyway, so there's that. Or the 1993 trilogy capper, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, and its absurd lazy time travel theme. So yeah, that fucking terrible. That movie was trash. I actually, I'll be honest, I knew somebody who actually liked that movie, and I don't talk to that person anymore for a reason. That's all I'm saying. We don't fucking like the Turtles 3 movie. Anybody who says they like that movie, get the fuck out of here. If you don't like what I say, I'm sorry. That movie is fucking trash. So the article goes on to compare basically Marvel and DC, their cinematic universes, to the Turtles movie, and how the Turtles movie has influenced both of those. Here's the thing. You're never going to find something that compares to the original Ninja Turtles movie. You'll never recreate that with these reboots that they continue to try to do. These TV show reboots of shows that I watched when I was a kid. They continuously try to bring these franchises back from the dead. And when I say dead, I don't mean that they don't have fans anymore. I mean that, they're in a time for a reason. They're there for a reason. We don't need to try to recreate these. And look, this channel is made, mostly because I love nostalgia. But that doesn't mean I want you to resurrect nostalgia from the dead and put it in a dress. You see what I'm saying? Like, I can appreciate it and watch it as it was then, not what you guys think it should have been then or what you think it should be now. The reboot stuff is just getting a bit ridiculous. That's all I gotta say. It's getting a bit ridiculous. So, anyway, guys, I'm not gonna read any more of the article here, but that's that. There's great movies from the 90s that you guys can go back and watch. Again, if you haven't seen the Turtles movie, go watch the Ninja Turtles movie. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about all this. The importance that this movie had in the pop culture spectrum, in the movie superhero genre. Basically created from something that was a joke, something that was just making fun of another superhero property, and then becomes arguably bigger than the original property that it was, created after. So, who doesn't love the Ninja Turtles? Again, leave a comment down below. Let me know your experience with the movie. You love the movie. You've seen it. If you've never seen it, love to know your guys' thoughts on this whole thing. Also, again, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit that subscription button down below. Hit the bell for notifications. All of that good shit. And we will catch you guys on the next one. And remember, everybody, party on.